By now, I think a lot of people have heard about the allegations against Hunter Biden. That's the son of President Joe Biden, whose infamous laptop sparked allegations that the Biden family is involved in a scheme, or many schemes, to peddle his political power for profit. Now, this week we could finally get some answers on this. A congressional press conference this Wednesday is set to release its findings, and they say at least it includes whistleblower statements, bank documents, and other information, and they claim that it shows evidence of crimes, not just with Hunter Biden, but with other members of the Biden family as well. Now, of course, we're still waiting to see the evidence, so innocent until proven guilty. We'll see what comes out from it. Joe Biden was asked about this during an interview with MSNBC. Biden says that he stands by his son's innocence. Watch this.
There is something personal that's affecting you. Your son, while there's no ties to you, could be charged by your Department of Justice. How will that impact your presidency?
First of all, my son's done nothing wrong. I trust him. I have faith in him. And it impacts my presidency by making me feel proud of him.
Now, contrary to what MSNBC alleged earlier in that interview, there actually is evidence that Joe Biden is potentially himself tied to Hunter Biden's scandals. At least this is the allegation. Senator Charles Grassley and Representative James Comer, they actually sent an open letter to Attorney General Merrick Garland and to FBI Director Christopher Wray on May 3rd. Now, while we haven't seen the full proof yet, they claim whistleblowers have revealed that the FBI and the DOJ have evidence that ties Joe Biden to these potential crimes. Their letter states that it has come to their attention, in fact, that the DOJ and FBI possess an unclassified form that, quote, describes an alleged criminal scheme involving then-President Biden and a foreign national relating to the exchange of money for policy decisions. It has been alleged that the document includes a precise description of how the alleged criminal scheme was employed, as well as its purpose. Now, they note the FBI and DOJ not disclosing this to the public appears to show political bias, in which case they chose to go after it themselves. And political bias, given the way we see the DOJ and FBI treat the other side of the political aisle. They state that given the fact this evidence is not being shown to the American people, quote, Congress will proceed to conduct an independent and objective review of this matter, free from those agencies' influence. Now, this is part of a larger investigation going on right now, not just into Hunter Biden, but also into whether Hunter's business deals involved his father. Again, innocent until proven guilty. We'll see what comes out from this. But given the way things are heading, we could find out very soon. In fact, according to James Comer, we could even find out this week. During an interview on Fox News, he explained what we could expect to see, in fact. Let me show you.
Well, Senator Grassley and I received a tip on a whistleblower. Senator Grassley was the lead in this. We've reviewed documents from the legally protected whistleblower, highly credible whistleblower that would implicate Joe Biden in a pay-for-play scheme, in trying to set up a deal to receive funds to he and his family in exchange for foreign policy decisions. Now, that fits a pattern, Maria, of what we've seen with these bank records. And on Wednesday, we're going to present to the American people all the information that we've received thus far pertaining to bank records. We're going to disclose many of the different LLCs, many of the different transactions that all these different Biden family members have gotten from our adversaries around the world. Now, we don't believe this was just a coincidence that all these Biden family members were receiving money from this web of LLCs into their personal bank accounts. We believe this was done in exchange for something that then Vice President Biden and now President Biden would have done. So this whistleblower is going to provide some very crucial information to our investigation, and we've given the FBI until May the 10th to produce this document.
The big question now is going to be whether the FBI chooses to release that document, or is forced to. They have until May 10th for that, which is going to be this Wednesday. But it appears that an even bigger question right now isn't actually on whether or not Hunter's going to be indicted. It seems something's going to happen. Instead, it's on whether the charges are a glorified slap on the wrist, such as the rumored charges of tax evasion and lying to obtain a firearm, or whether the major allegations come out. Now, the House Oversight Committee Chairman Comer gave his take on this as well. Let me show you.
My message to the Department of Justice is very loud and clear. Do not indict Hunter Biden before Wednesday, when you have the opportunity to see the evidence that the House Oversight Committee will produce with respect to the web of LLCs, with respect to the number of adversarial countries that this family influence peddled in. This is not just about the president's son. This is about the entire Biden family, including the president of the United States. So we believe there are a whole lot of accounts that the IRS and the DOJ don't know about, because we don't believe they've done a whole lot of digging in this. And we have. We've spent the past 100 days poring over bank documents. I've used subpoena power to get these bank documents. We've been meeting with former associates of the Bidens in their different influence peddling schemes. We've been meeting with whistleblowers. We know exactly what this family was doing. And by all accounts from the media reports that we're getting, what they're looking at charging Hunter Biden on is a slap on the wrist. It's a drop in the bucket. So Wednesday will be a very big day for the American people in getting the facts presented to them so that they can know the truth. And then the Department of Justice can finally do what they should have done years ago.
Well, we'll see what's shown this Wednesday during the press conference. And we'll also see what charges, if any, Hunter Biden faces. And most importantly as well, we're going to see whether it's just Hunter on this or whether it's, as Comer suggests, several members of the Biden family. Now, a release from the House Oversight Committee hints at what we could be seeing. It claims the committee recently revealed one of the alleged deals, where it states this: the committee revealed one deal that resulted in several members of the Biden family and their companies receiving over $1 million in more than 15 incremental payments from a Chinese company through a third party. Now, that'd be important for several reasons. Aside from potentially being a mafia-type case where an alleged Biden crime family, is how it's being framed, is involved in a criminal conspiracy, it would also have serious implications for national sovereignty and national security. And there's also the deeper concern over Joe Biden taking classified documents. Why were they being stored in several rooms of his Delaware home? Why was Biden allegedly taking these documents home when he was still a senator? And why was that same residence, where he had those documents, also allegedly listed as the home of his son, Hunter? Did Hunter have access to those classified documents while being accused of selling information just like them? Well, there's even pretty serious implications for Trump as well, in terms of what it could mean for him with all this. Implications that will actually likely help him instead of harm him on his 2024 campaign, and his narrative as well that he's fighting a corrupt justice system. Biden's classified documents scandal could actually torpedo the case against Trump taking classified documents, again, and storing him at his home in Mar-a-Lago. Trump took those while he was president. Debatably, on whether it was legal or not, we will see. Biden took them home as senator when he did not have executive privilege. And unlike Trump, Biden is being accused of selling that type of information. Then there's the infamous Trump call with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. Remember the one that Trump was impeached for? The one where he was accused of quid pro quo? Well, that call, the context of that was Trump allegedly trying to get Zelensky to dig up dirt on Joe Biden ahead of the 2020 elections. What was that call actually about, though? Well, here's the context. When Joe Biden was vice president under Barack Obama, he was accused of using his influence to get a Ukrainian prosecutor, that's Viktor Shokin, fired. That prosecutor, the one he had fired, was investigating Burisma. Burisma is a Ukrainian natural gas company that was paying Hunter Biden $80,000 a month to serve on its board. Now, Maybe Hunter Biden is secretly a business expert sought after by natural gas companies for his insights into the energy industry. Well, certainly Hunter Biden has experience with combustible materials. Or maybe it's something else. Now, regardless, Ukrainian prosecutor, this one, would have been the one to investigate and find out if a crime had in fact taken place. And just like Trump tried to get it investigated, it was Joe Biden who, by his own admission, got the prosecutor fired, thereby preventing an investigation into his own son. And Joe Biden even appeared to admit this. In fact, he did so during a Council on Foreign Affairs event back in 2018. Watch the video of it.
But it just happened to be that was the assignment I got. I got all the good ones. So I got Ukraine. And I remember going over convincing our team, or others, to convincing us that we should be providing for loan guarantees. And I went over, I guess, the 12th, 13th time to Kyiv, and I was supposed to announce that there was another $1 billion loan guarantee. And I had gotten a commitment from Poroshenko and from Yatsenyuk that they would take action against the state prosecutor, and they didn't. So they said they were walking out to press conference. I said, no, we're not going to give you the $1 billion. They said, you have no authority. You're not the president. The president said. I said, call him. I said, I'm telling you, you're not getting the $1 billion. I said, you're not getting the $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here. And I think it was, 6 hours? I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Well, son of a bitch. Got fired. And they put in place someone who was solid at the time.
Well, the case around Hunter Biden and Joe Biden is only getting bigger. In addition to the potential crimes, the ones we discussed, there's also new claims of how the Hunter Biden campaign tried covering up these information on this ahead of the 2020 elections, and allegations that witnesses are being threatened. The main piece of evidence that dropped ahead of the elections was Hunter Biden's infamous laptop. In it are many scandalous photos of Hunter, but also, more importantly, emails that helped launch inquiries into his business deals. News on Hunter's laptop was framed as Russian disinformation, and even major news outlets were censored for reporting on it ahead of the 2020 elections. Now, of course, the laptop is real, and many of the stories have since been shown to have been accurate. And it turns out as well, interestingly, that Joe Biden's campaign had a hand in covering it up. Former acting CIA Director Mike Morrell is now claiming that Joe Biden's presidential campaign prompted him to help organize the 50 former intelligence officials, the same ones who published that public letter in October of 2020, falsely claiming that the Hunter Biden laptop story looked like Russian disinformation. And this is getting actually a lot bigger. Morrell actually testified before the House Judiciary Committee, and he claimed that it was none other than Antony Blinken who contacted him. Blinken is currently Biden's Secretary of State. At the time, however, Blinken was a senior campaign official for Joe Biden. Morrell said this was around October 17th of 2020, and just days after New York Post published an email from Hunter Biden's laptop, which suggested that Hunter introduced then Vice President Joe Biden to his Ukrainian business partner in an alleged deal. Now, let me read to you the transcript of how that testimony went. Morrell in the House talking about this. They say this, question, but prior to Secretary Blinken's call, you did not have any intent to write this statement? I did not. Okay, so this call triggered, it did, yes. That intent in you? And Morrell also admitted that he helped organize the cover-up of Hunter's laptop to help Joe Biden, quote, because I wanted him to win the election. Let me show you that testimony. Went like this, question, what was the intent of the statement? Answer, there were two intents. One intent was to share our concern with the American people that the Russians were playing on this issue, and two, it was to help Vice President Biden. And then Chairman Jordan asks this. He said, you wanted to help the vice president, why? Answer, because I wanted him to win the election. Chairman Jordan then says this, "You wanted him to win, that's why?" He says, "Yes, sir." Now, polling data suggests that had voters known about the Hunter Biden laptop in that full context, they would not have voted for Joe Biden. And that's on a strong enough level based on polling that it would have altered the outcome of the elections. Former President Trump claims that that alone demonstrated a form of election interference. But it wasn't just a cover-up. It wasn't just censorship. And it also wasn't just a scheme to mislead voters. Based on additional claims, it could have involved threats to witnesses. In fact, the laptop repairman who obtained the ownership of Hunter's laptop when Hunter failed to retrieve it from the repair shop previously said that he's afraid to leave his Delaware home. Representative Comer said that witnesses on the case claim they've received threats from Biden's legal team. Watch.
The Hunter Biden legal team, they're testing the limits, I'll put it like that, with respect to witness intimidation. We've got witnesses that are scared to death to come forward. They fear for their lives. I mean, you've got the banks that have worked with us. They're being squeezed by attorneys, by high-ranking officials in the Democrat Party for having the nerve to work with us to comply with our subpoenas.
Shocking stuff. Tara Reid as well. She was a staff assistant to Biden from 1992 to 1993 when Biden was still a senator. She is now accusing President Biden of sexually assaulting her back in the 90s. Before she was set to testify before Congress on an invite from Representatives Marjorie Taylor Greene and Matt Gaetz, she sent a tweet, and she suggested that she's also concerned for her safety. She wrote this, "I want to make something clear. If something happens to me, all roads lead to Joe Biden. Joe Biden and DNC political machine threats. Bullying and intimidating over the last 3 years will not work. I am not suicidal. I should not be under investigation, nor am I a foreign agent. I am a private citizen. I was a former staffer of Joe Biden's that has chosen to step forward to tell the truth. The tactics using intimidation and bullying to silence me and suppress me using DOJ and FBI and social media will not work. Leave me alone. I will testify under oath in Congress if asked to do so, and tell what happened and what I know. The Biden corruption must end, period. Thank you," and she thanks these officials, "for inviting me to testify about caring about the truth." Of course, her statements, I should note, don't make it clear on whether she received credible threats, so take it for what it is. Although there is a pattern of alleged threats that would justify her concern, given everything else. Folks, regardless, the walls do appear to be closing in. We should be finding out within the next few days whether Hunter Biden is going to face charges. But keep in mind that the key point is going to be on whether these charges include the full range of crimes that we're now being told exist. Well, folks, that's all for tonight. Thank you again for joining us in this new version of Crossroads. Again, weeknights, 7 p.m. Eastern Time on epochtv.com. In the next couple weeks, we're also going to be adding interviews, more segments to the show, so stay tuned for that. And then starting on May 15th, we'll also be broadcasting simultaneously both Epoch TV and NTD Cable. Also important every morning now, weekdays at least, Monday through Friday. Join me for a live Q&A, 10 a.m. Eastern Time on the episode you just watched. For updates as well, follow us in social media. That's at Crossroads_Josh. And as always, stay informed and stay free. Hi there, Josh Philipp here. Our values are being assaulted every day by the lies that mainstream media perpetuate, and it's put our country on the edge of a knife, with no one knowing whether or not we'll make it. If you love our country and the freedoms we celebrate, I'll give you the number one thing you can do to ensure this country stays this way. Now, you probably feel that's impossible. Maybe you think the situation is too far gone. I felt the same way until I joined the Epoch Times, started this show, and saw the power that truth can bring our growing audience. That's why I wanted to tell you there is something you can do. You can ensure the truth gets out there from my show. And by supporting me, you're supporting the Epoch Times, and you're supporting independent journalism that is, bar none, this country's best hope in surviving the onslaught against our values and freedoms. Shockingly, most people don't even realize that almost every mainstream media company belongs to one of 6 huge corporations, all with their own agendas and demanding shareholders. Some even think it's a good thing. Folks, how can we ensure the reporting is free of bias? We can't. This is why my show and the Epoch Times is so critical. We're completely independent. Our only interest is in traditional journalism and reporting truthfully. The Epoch Times is the antidote. It's time to replace these prevalent narratives with the truth and get back to the basics: life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. All you have to do is subscribe to Epoch TV, and you get so much more in return. With your subscription, you get access to hundreds of exclusive videos, over 30 channels, live shows, events, and even hard-hitting documentaries and films that are changing the game. Just click on the link in the description of the show, and you're on your way. Thanks so much for watching me and for your support, and remember, the only way to truly protect our freedoms is to stay informed.